Let me start with your cookbook,
Yeah.
Cook. So I read it the other day. Really enjoyed it. It was nostalgic, flicking through the pages. There's so many bloody cookbooks out there. Like all sorts of cookbooks. And I have to say, and I'm not just saying because you're on the podcast, but it was really nice flicking through it. Real kind of interesting recipes. But like I said, I nostalgic. Like there were a lot of time you read the kind of like Irish cookbooks and stuff, and it's not necessarily what I would have eaten growing up.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of those stuff were kind of I could relate to. They were kind of the stuff on the kitchen
Well,
table.
with both bake and cook, it's something that I really wanted to do was have that. It's the recipes I grew up with. Like, I think it really captures the time of like the late 80s, early like 90s up to now. It captures that time of my generation of what we ate growing up, my mum's generation of what she actually cooked for us growing up. And I think it's a real reflection of where Irish food has been in the last last couple of decades. And fingers crossed where Irish food is going as well.
Yeah, for sure. The only love the recipes. There was so much stuff there. The can I call out one that I didn't like?
Yeah.
I'll put you on the spot. Warm milk with cereal. Where
Yeah.
does that come from?
See, so that's basically the suppers. See, suppers in my book is very different. Some people, so the chapters in the book, for those that don't know, are breakfast, lunch, dinner, tea, supper, and then there's the chapter about pork and bacon. So actually, I'll reference the pork and bacon chapter first because we grew up over our family pork butcher shop in Athy, County Kildare. No central heating, no like single glazed glass in the windows. It was a cold house. So supper for us was something just before we went to bed. And when I was writing the book, it was the realization that my mom and dad didn't give us hot milk and cereal going to bed to fill us. They actually gave it to us going to bed to keep us warm. And it was
Wow.
that realization kind of when I was writing the book that there was more to it than actually feeding us. There was a reason why we were given something hot going to bed. And that's why I actually thought it was quite powerful when to actually that and the hot milk and honey to be able to write them two recipes down. It really captures, and like the more I've been talking about this so much over the last fortnight, and people say to me, we were exactly the same. We were given the same going to bed because it was cold. We
Yeah.
didn't live like most people didn't live in houses with central heating
Yeah, we,
in
we
the
had
eight in
we,
the
we
70s
had
and
we had
80s.
double glazed windows growing up. I was kind of more upper class. Maybe that's why we had the cold milk. um, no, look, let's go into it. So on
Yeah.
your kind of entrepreneurial drive, growing up, would you put that down to your kind of the business background that you had in terms of your family?
Um, yes and no. Like, I've funny feeling if I was actually kind of 17, 18 now, I probably would go into butchery if dad was still had the shop. If I was that age now, and we were living in this like now, I probably would go into butchery. But I went into food instead. Food was always a huge part of my growing up. Did I want to be self-employed? Not for a long time. I kind of fell into it. So 13 years ago now, I got made redundant. I was working for a chain of coffee shops doing their product development, and got made redundant very quickly. And over the space of 5 days, an awful lot of things just fell into place. Like the enterprise centre where I'm based, they offered me a kitchen, which, okay, yes, I had come down to see about future maybe opening my own
Yeah,
business, but it happened
yeah,
very much quicker than I expected. I managed to get offered equipment. So a lot of things fell into place very quickly, and I kind of accidentally found myself self-employed. With the plan was, and my husband was gone back to college. He'd been made redundant as well in the previous months. So he gave me a hand during the year with deliveries, stuff like that. We said we'd give it 1 year.
yeah,
And if it wasn't making money, we'd walk away from it. I've got it out of my system.
yeah.
I've tried it. A year later, we didn't even have a chance to, because we opened in the 1st of December. A year later, we were in the middle of the next Christmas rush. Didn't have a chance to do the accounts. It was the March before I got to do the accounts. And we were like, yeah, this is kind of working for us, so we'll stick with it.
Wow,
So
that's
accidentally became an entrepreneur, but I love it. I absolutely love being self-employed because I can do what I
yeah,
want to do. That's what I've
yeah.
discovered, especially in the last 5 or 6 years.
Mm.
like, I don't listen to anybody else's trends or what's happening in food.
Yeah.
I just do what I want to do.
Perfect. I'm sure, with that, along that, journey, there's been kind of lower points and challenges and stuff like that. Is there any kind of standout challenge that you faced in your journey so far?
There's two things. The first one was, I always remember a couple of years ago, I was saying there in a few minutes ago, we literally had no money left in the business. We it was about 3-4 years into everything, and we were getting to the point where we were desperately broke, and we were very close to giving it all up. But what happened was, I entered a competition for Ireland's best scone, and I happened to win it. But so much so, it was on in the Murrian Hotel. I had no money to even get there. I had to walk from my kitchen in Smithfield over to the Murrian. I couldn't even afford a taxi.
Wow.
We won it. We got a bursary of €1,000 to do with whatever we wanted. And it was also the week before my first ever taste of Dublin, which the marketing that came along with winning the award just saw us through. I remember the queues at Taste of Dublin, people wanting to taste this black pudding scone that I was after making. So what I'm kind of saying about that one is, take every opportunity you can. Do you know what I mean? It can be really, really tough, and it's going to be really low points, but still put yourself out there and go for it.
Yeah.
The other one, just at the moment, it is so tough. I've had to, and don't be afraid to pivot with your business. I've had to pivot recently, and that is, I've closed my wholesale. I just couldn't make it work any longer. A lot of the products that I do are all chocolate based.
Yeah.
Chocolate, the price of my chocolate went up by 100% overnight.
Wow.
Butter is 100% more expensive now than it was 2 or 3 years ago. Everything has gone up, and I just got to the point of, I refused to, I refused to kind of compromise on the quality of my product. Yeah. So I took the really, really tough decision to actually close my wholesale business about 6 months ago now. And I'm kind of, in a way, I'm glad I did, because it's given me a chance to kind of slow down a little bit, breathe, and kind of look at going forward and what I want to do with the business. So don't be afraid to pivot with your business as well. And you have to. It's part of life, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. With that, I'm always interested to kind of get advice from people like you that are in business a long time. What would that be, the main bit of advice you'd give to someone?
The main bit of advice I would give to somebody is, get away from it. Learn how to turn off from your business. That's the biggest bit of advice I give. COVID is one of the best things that ever happened to me and my business. That's just real personal.
Yeah.
But we were working, so my husband works with me, as you know.
Yeah.
So we were working 7 days a week. We both work 6 days a week. We didn't even have a day off together. Where COVID made us stop all that, and we stayed open throughout the whole of COVID. We had to let go of some staff, but we managed to keep on our key employees. And we just reduced it to a 5-day working week, 4 days in the shop, 5 days in the kitchen. And then when things started to go back to normal, we decided, that's it, we're not opening on a Monday. At least we have one day off together, and that's our Saturday or Sunday. But being self-employed, it is so important to learn to have time for yourself, learn to know what makes you happy, and also find the things that are free that you really enjoy doing, like going for long walks on beaches or whatever it is. But make sure and have time for yourself. If not, you will hit burnout, and it's not worth it.
Yeah, very, very good. No, for sure. 2 final ones for you, Graham. Is there any, this is a silly question I always ask people, but I'm always intrigued by the answers. Kind of, I suppose, a dream business existing, or a new idea or concept that, if money was no option, what would you do?
If money was no option, so I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was in college, actually, not even in primary school or secondary school. In college, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, recently diagnosed with ADHD. Did I think I would ever write a cookbook, let alone 2 books? So if money was no object, I would be I'd have a fabulous product development kitchen and I would just sit down writing books all day long. I have fallen in love with writing.
Really?
So that's what if money was no object, I would just have a beautiful kitchen with loads of books and be able to write all day long. What I do have an idea for, and it's kind of further down the line, but like my dream would be to have a little sit down place, kind of like, I don't want to say tapas bar or wine bar, but if you imagine with like Irish drinks, traditional Irish foods done in small plates, really a little bit quirky. That's kind of, I suppose, a more achievable goal of mine at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, deadly. Well, my final question was money obviously is an option, and there's other realities to it. So what is the actual, I suppose, growth plan for your business and also yourself, like with Cookbook and media and stuff? Where do you see the business going the next kind of 12, 24 months?
I do have my eyes on another premises. I do want to move my kitchen. I want to move my kitchen from the enterprise centre where I'm based, because I'm not in the other thing is I'm using up space in an enterprise centre. Do you know what I mean? I do want to move on, but it's very important to me to get the right space, because although I am a profit-based driven business, there's also a very strong social aspect to my business where I employ people with special needs. Wow. They just can't up and move their, like, do you know what I mean? I can't move the kitchen to the other side of Dublin. They won't be able to get to work. So it's important to me that wherever I move to, it's accessible for other members of staff. So I do want to move my kitchen. I'd love to have a second premises. And if the opportunity to do more, like, I love sharing what I do and my love of traditional Irish food. So the opportunity comes for that, whether it be teaching directly to students in school, which I did a lot of last year and I loved that, or television or radio, whatever I get a chance to do. I'm really enjoying this side of it a lot more. Yeah.
Can I just ask you a final one on that? You just mentioned about employing people with disabilities. Tell me a bit more about that. That sounds very interesting.
So my brother has worked with me for since basically quite literally day one. He was here the very first day I did production. My brother is Patrick. As I affectionately call him, Pappy. He's Down syndrome and he's deaf and non-verbal. So there's him. I've had other members of staff over the last couple of years who have had Asperger's or on different levels of the autism spectrum. So it's. I love making, like, for Pappy, work is the most important thing in the world. It gives him a sense of purpose. And for so many people with disabilities, they're lacking that sense of purpose. They kind of like, even though Pappy doesn't understand it, for a lot of people, it's like, I shouldn't just be relying on the state to give me money to live. They want to get out there and work. And I can see that with Pappy, even though he can't verbalize it to me, his love of actually doing a job and getting his pay slip and getting his wages is so important. And like the fact that all of my other staff are willing to learn sign language, they have time to they take their time to work with the other members of staff as well. It's just brilliant. So it is something that's very close to my heart and I'm kind of quite strong about. And like, I'd also reach out to local schools, try and take kids in that might be on a spectrum of something or other to do work experience and things like that. So it's just something that's important to me, to make people realize that you're not just doing good by having somebody with special needs on the payroll. They can bring an awful lot to your business.
Graham, thank you so much. I appreciate taking the time.
No problem at all, Evan. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Cheers. Chat to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.